Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights. All right, welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls with Congressman Garret Graves. He's standing by on Skype. We have a lot to talk about, and of course, so many things in the news. We'll talk about the presidential race. The Supreme Court had a ruling today. We'll talk about the 10 offices that Congressman Graves will be seeking. For sure. We'll let him answer in his own words. So, folks, if you're out there talking about which race he is going to run in, we'll let him tell you himself today. But, Congressman, good to see you again. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, Martin. Hope you are as well.
Yeah, everything's good. And as we get older, we learn how to differentiate the facts by the rumors, and that's talking directly to the person themselves. Before we even get to that, let's talk about that $93 million that you helped implement and get. I was having lunch with Gordy Dove the other day, and he was so excited. You know, when Gordy sees those big millions of dollars, he gets excited being on the CPRA. But in your own words, that, you know, it's a long process when you're talking about floodgates and different things, but it certainly is much better to get 93 million than to get 25 million. It sort of helps the years go by quicker, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And look, everybody in Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish is familiar with the Morgan's of the Gulf hurricane protection system because it protects our entire region. And what's happened is this project started in 1992. It had largely been stalled in regard to the federal government, but as you know, the state and the residents of Terrebonne and Lafourche have put up a lot of money through sales tax, property tax, and other means in order to get this project moving. And when I was at CPRA, we put money toward it. Oil spill negotiations, we put money toward it. But what had happened is the cost of this project just continued spiraling out of control because of the way the federal government, the Corps of Engineers, had engineered or valued this project. And Martin, we were probably looking at a $15-16 billion project that, I mean, the entire Corps of Engineers construction budget is only $2 to $3 billion, so it would never get funded. So we were able to finally break the logjam, get this project funded, get some construction dollars. But as you noted, we'd get 19 million here, 25 million there, 28 million there, 31 million there. And what we began doing is, one, working on value engineering, bringing the cost of the overall project down, and two, finding larger bite-sized pieces for the Corps of Engineers to be able to do. So this 93 million is a culmination of all that. Again, breaking the logjam, getting the feds involved in constructing this project, and secondly, having them do larger components. So this will be the largest regular annual appropriations for this project ever, which we're really excited about.
Explain I guess, how the water is going to run downhill on this money coming in. Who's going to control it? Where does it go? And how does it get downhill?
Well, so normally what happens is once the final appropriations bill's done and signed into law, the money is then available to the New Orleans District U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, which of course Colonel Jones down there is in charge. They're doing a great job in prioritizing this project, but they could. Normally what happens is they're in charge. They're the ones who do the contracting and everything else. What we've been doing is trying to push the Corps of Engineers to let the levee district and to let the CPRA do more of the construction work, because we've proven that at the state level and at the levee district level, we can do things faster and do it less expensive.
And that's a good point, because you've been on all levels. Not only have you been in Washington, you've been on CPRA, you've been an integral part in getting a lot of these projects started. And I've heard a lot of good talk about the Corps. I got to be honest, I was there in the days we were probably cursing them a little bit on TV, but it seems to have changed along the way. they're a little more acceptable to what's going on. It sure helps that we have guys like you that have been through it, that can sell them pretty hard. We have bulldogs like Garret on the ground that he just doesn't take no for an answer. But don't you find that they're a little more accepting of what we're actually throwing at them? Is this because we have skin in the game?
Well, look, there's no doubt that the Corps of Engineers as an organization, especially in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, just became apprehensive, really just afraid of their own shadow. We couldn't get them to make decisions. We couldn't get them to move forward. Again, it's one of the reasons why the Morganza project ballooned from $886 million to somewhere in that $14 to $16 billion range, because they began gold plating everything. They were afraid we were going to see a New Orleans-like scenario again. But we have seen them, I think, really beginning to move in the direction. I want to be clear, they're not where we want them yet, but moving in the direction of being more common sense, like more rational, and we're certainly seeing that in the Morganza project a good bit more than in the past.
Yeah, and Tony Alford laughs, but I got to say, he was told we get a named storm in the Gulf, impending danger on Louisiana. He gets the green light. So Tony's going around telling, I'm the only one in Louisiana that was asking for a small storm to be named so he could have the money. But that's a far cry better than we used to get. It
is. And look, Martin, I think we only have one way to go, which is up in regard to dollars. We made significant headway by going from roughly $30 million last year to 93. And it's all about getting the Corps to find these larger components that they can work on. And that's what Tony was involved in, and Reggie, and of course, the New Orleans Corps down here. Tony was so excited when I called to tell him about the 93 million. He said, this is better than possum pudding. And I'm not sure what that meant, but I think that meant that he was excited.
Well, at least he kept it clean for you. I've been on live TV with him before for hurricanes. And we almost had to have the 20-second delay. Let's do this.
Yeah,
we'll take a break. I want to come back and talk some union stuff with you, because it has a lot of people, especially contractors, talking. So we'll take a short break. We have Congressman Garret Graves. We'll be right back.
Since 1954, Terrebonne General has been a beacon of health and hope in our community. As we mark 7 decades of dedication to your well-being, Terrebonne General Health System remains committed to advancing healthcare, improving lives, and expanding our services to meet your evolving needs. In celebrating our past, we look forward to a future filled with promise and progress. Your health is our legacy. To discover more, visit tghealthsystem.com.
All right, we are back talking with Congressman Garret Graves, and let's get him up again if we can, Jay, because we were laughing during the break before we get serious again. And Congressman, you get to see a lot of colorful people, and one of those is Tony Alford, the other one's Gordy, but and I know you're going to see both of them tonight as they honor and send on their way Reggie Dupre, who's another colorful person. And I can promise you, I only had to ask one question to Reggie over the years, and I would get a full show. So you at least let me get, 15 questions in. But Reggie, he could go on and on. But anyway, it'll be good seeing you in person tonight. I know you're going. Let's talk about the union, because that has a lot of people confused. And I guess if you could just put it in a simple fashion for the public, we're in a right-to-work state. President Biden decides he's going to enforce something that I guess has been on the books for a few years now. But it really has sent a tizzy through the construction world, because anything over $35 million is a game changer. And when we start talking about the labor groups and the PLA and everybody else, what does that do for us down here?
Yeah. Look, Martin, first of all, unions have a role in that they often run good training or apprentice programs. But at the end of the day, we've got to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. And if you can go out there and hire a great Louisiana contractor to build a road, to build a levee, to restore the coast, and the cost, and of course, I'll make this up, is going to be a $10 million project. But what President Biden is doing is now forcing that you hire union labor. And so that $10 million project just went from 10 million to maybe 14 million. And so we've got two problems in Louisiana. In Louisiana, we don't have a lot of union shops, meaning a lot of contractors that are union. And so what happens is that you end up having to bring folks in from other places, or you have to pull together this team of people that haven't worked together, and always it costs more money. Now, Martin, I'm going to add a new dynamic to this. If you look just from when President Biden took office till now, there is a 69% construction inflation rate, meaning prices of construction have gone up nearly 70% since President Biden took office. So people get excited about the infrastructure bill and all these other things. But if costs are going up that high, all these bills, all these appropriations bills are providing all this money, they're not actually getting us ahead. And so this is another reason why costs are going to go up even higher. And just one example, the West Shore project in St. Charles, St. John, and St. James parishes, it has gone up almost 500%. You add things like this, you make them unaffordable, they can't get built.
In other words, for the person watching, a welder may be able to tack, may be able to cut, may be able to fit, may be able to do everything. Can't do that anymore, right?
That's right. That's right. It really is amazing in that these people would be boxed out of jobs, boxed out of working because they're not part of a union. This is all about the White House's efforts to try to force union upon companies all over the United States, which I'll say it again, a right to work state like Louisiana, which means that you get to choose if you're going to pay union dues, if you're going to join a union. Really, I think affects our autonomy, but most importantly, it affects that worker at the end of the day that chooses to not participate in a union and not have to have their union dues siphoned off. And it basically puts them in a box and forces them to either not work or to join the union.
And I think you're correct, because Tony was telling me the other day that to make a $50 million levy, we could do it for $25 million, and now it's going to cost $50 million. So we could get twice as many things done with our ingenuity. We already know how to build levees. We've been doing it for years. So this is just one of those ploys to once again meddle with the process, which is catastrophic to us.
It is, and look, I'm hopeful that we'll only have to deal with this for 6 months or so until we have a new administration in, and that will come in and stop some of this silliness, because this is all unilateral action by the White House. These are not laws that we've passed that require these things. These are things that the White House has done to effectively, as I said, just drive up costs, and it has a profound impact on how much we're able to build.
Let's do this. I'm going to take the break early in this segment, because when we come back, I want to talk about the president's raise, the ruling of the Supreme Court today, and let's dispel some of the rumors that you're running for about 10 different offices. So we'll do that on the other side of the break. Once again, Congressman Garret Graves, always accessible to us. We appreciate it. We'll be right back with the Congressman. Don't go away. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality. All right, we're back with Congressman Garret Graves, and we have him by Skype, and he'll be coming to Houma tonight to participate in the outgoing meeting, and just, I don't know if it'll turn into a roast, but it might, with Reggie Dupre, who's been around for quite some time. And let's talk a little bit national politics first, and we'll get into some of your politics. But talk about, I mean, we all watched the debate the other night, and it was quite obvious to me. I didn't miss a second of it. I'm looking at it, and I'm going, this is a bloodbath. I mean, this is just awful. But it seems like the president is steadfast, or either his wife is, one of them, and he's not budging. What's the, I guess, the sense in Washington right now? It seems like it's a shambles on the Democratic side.
It certainly looks that way. Look, Martin, a lot of people are focused just on President Biden and his performance and perhaps what appeared to be cognitive decline the other night. I think that really the takeaway from the debate is much broader than just what we saw in the debate in the cognitive decline. Look, you have a whole gaggle of members of Congress, of folks that are senior officials within the Biden administration that I think have been misleading us. Not I think, it's clear they were misleading us. And so my point is, how far does it go? When you look at this crazy energy policy that is driving up cost and giving rewards to Iran and Russia, Venezuela and China, when you look at the immigration policy that's allowing 10 million people illegally come across the southern border and effectively let them declare that they're going to become Americans, vote in our elections. When you look at the crazy spending like a drunken sailor that's going on, causing inflation and eating into our own paychecks and our ability to make ends meet, utilities, groceries, and other things, interest rates. What this really tells me is that there wasn't a grand strategy, that all these people have been misleading us all along, misleading us about the president's cognitive situation, misleading us about immigration policy, energy policy, spending and inflation. What concerns me is the broader misleading that's going on by the exact same people that have been out there defending the president. I think that we've got to rip this Band-Aid off. We've got to bring common sense back to the leadership, the White House of this nation, and get this country back on some rational track.
What do you think by today's Supreme Court ruling? Everybody was waiting, some tense moments, but how do you think the president or the former president Trump is feeling right now about that ruling?
Well, look, I certainly think that he's happy with the ruling and that it largely, not entirely, but largely verifies what he's been out there saying. It's something that's important. I know a lot of people are going to immediately jump and say, oh, it's the conservative justices who did that. Look, you have seen Gorsuch, you have seen Amy Coney Barrett, you have seen John Roberts, you have seen all of these justices all over the map this session in terms of their decisions. So this has not been we're all marching with the leader in this case. This has been a very independent Supreme Court. And I think the fact that you saw a 6-3 majority is a strong message. And look, lastly, as we have increasingly become more political, more polarized as a country, you've seen folks weaponizing government. I think it is important that there's some degree of protection for a president and not this fear that they're going to be out there prosecuted for every single thing they do from here forward.
It at least elongates the fact that he's got to send it. Well, they ordered it sent back to the courts, that this is not going to play out before the election.
That's what this certainly looks like, which I think is important. Let the voters decide who the next president's going to be, and let's move on from there.
Just one little tongue-in-cheek thing. When President Biden talked about his 6th and 8 handicap, you knew somebody was going to run some footage of the golf game, and somebody was filming him one day playing golf. And I got to tell you, those fact checkers are out there, but I'm putting my money on Trump in a golf game after watching that. Did you see that?
I didn't see it, but Martin, here we are, a presidential debate. And, I mean, I'm sorry for laughing, but these folks are arguing about their handicap for golf. Our country's drowning right now. We've got these wars in Ukraine and in the Middle East. You've got inflation that is rampant and out of control, inability to make ends meet. We're sitting here buying energy from our enemies and funding both sides of wars. I mean, and this is a crisis at the southern border, and they're arguing about golf handicap. Like, I mean, it just you kind of want to go up there and slap them both and say, guys, get back and they let them answer, although they let them have rebuttals on the question. But all in all, I was pretty okay with the way the debate went. I thought it would be something completely different, but at least they asked questions. Now, you can't control either one on the answers, but I was happy with the questions asked, I got to tell you, I first of all, I was shocked. Second of all, I did think that Jake Tapper and Dana Bash did a great job, much better than I expected. I thought they asked hard-hitting questions on both sides. I thought they were really fair, and that was certainly a much better outcome than I was expecting.
All right, so let's turn to the lunches I've been having where somebody will go, I'm telling you, I know Garret Graves, and he's running for mayor of Baton Rouge. Then the next, I know Garret Graves, and he is running against Bill Cassidy. I know Garret Graves, and he's running for public service commissioner. Would you like to dispel some of these today?
Yeah, I want to be crystal clear. Right now, I'm not running for dog catcher. Absolutely nothing. This has been an incredible run. The wins that we've had from down in the Bayou region all the way up to the Capital region have been absolutely amazing. In fact, independent analysis have found that our office is one of the top 5 most successful in terms of getting things done in the Congress. Really, really excited about the progress. But look, voters elected us for a full 2 years. We've got 6 months more that we owe them. We're going to run through the tape. We've got a lot more work we need to get done. But I'll just make it clear, not running for mayor, not running for public service commissioner. We're going to wait and see what the courts do. And in 2026, certainly can take a fresh look. But I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to be doing in January. But I will tell you, my wife has made it crystal clear we are going to pay the mortgage. And so I'm going to have to figure something out pretty quickly. But right now, we're just focused on getting more wins banked and delivering results for the people that sent us to do this job.
Congressman, thank you so much. You've always been available to us. We appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you tonight, that you bring that possum pudding to Tony Alford. So I want him to take a bite of that also.
You know, I bet Tony probably will be bringing some. From what I understand, he has it daily. It's strange, but that's Tony.
All right, Congressman, good to see you. Appreciate you answering the questions, and we'll see you tonight, sir.
All right, great, Martin. Thank you. See you later.
Congressman Garret Graves joining us. So we'll take a short break. We'll be back with a lot more here on HTV. Don't go away. Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.